although I have so many more questions, I'm going to turn to the audience because it's only fair. A question came in via Twitter from TechMD. This person says, I am just starting up. How should I build my brand integrity on social media?
By your actions. It's actually a piece of cake, TechMD. Have integrity, thus you've built it. That's a very easy, a lot of this defaults into execution. You build your integrity through your actions.
So what are actions that display or evoke?
I've been spending a lot of time on this lately. I just put out a slide share, what I call a public service announcement about what I call birdie bragging, retweeting things.
Oh, we should put that out after. Cool. Yeah.
Link it up.
Yeah.
Putting out, just retweeting nice things said about you. Probably tacky. I think acting human matters. So building your reputation is on Facebook, instead of every post being buy my book, let it be here's some content, here's this interview, here's what I can do for you. It's about having a good balance of giving and then asking. And listen, for me, this is a sucky time for me because I have a new book and I'm in asking more than I'd like to be. I liked last year where I only gave. I was just building up equity. So my biggest piece of advice is try to actually bring value to your audience.
Great. The next question comes in via live stream. I like this question a lot. Do you recommend, it's from Sam on live stream. Do you recommend programs that automate or post status reports to different social media, or do you do each one individually, separately, on your own?
Again, remember that let me make this overarching announcement. This is only one man's point of view, mine. But I am emphatic about this issue. I do zero automation. When I follow somebody on Twitter and I get an auto DM from them like, hey, check out my website or my newsletter, I unfollow them. It is the most non-human thing that I could ever think of. This is not email marketing. And so not only do I think you can't auto it, I think that you need to DJ the content per the platform. And that's what my whole book is about. Say the same thing, say it differently on every platform. This new public service announcement, birdie bragging, I made an animated GIF for Tumblr. I made a picture with a quote for Facebook. I used copy and hashtags on Twitter.
Got it. I'm just thinking, I know what all of those things are because I'm in this business myself, but could you explain a little bit in more detail for people who may be unfamiliar to some of these terms? Yeah.
So I almost called this book Slang Marketing. My belief is that if you don't know how to talk in the room that you're in, you lose. I'm giving answers right now predicated on entrepreneurship and small business instead of lawyers, right? I don't think lawyers are watching, maybe a couple entrepreneurial ones, but you know what I mean? And so on Tumblr, what really works is something called animated GIFs. If you don't know what that is, it's a picture that kind of keeps moving and looping over and over. It's a big phenomenon. Those do better on Tumblr, thus that's why I made one, because it becomes more shareable. And what social media really is the plumbing of word of mouth. Your intent is to put out good content so it gets shared, to bring awareness, to create whatever ROI you're looking for. So that's what I mean by that.
Got it. Another question on live stream is from a guy named Jeff. He says, and I can relate to this question. I think that many people probably have this issue. I've had trouble connecting on Twitter. Any suggestions on how to engage? I think many people probably go on and quickly get 200 or so followers because it connects to their connections elsewhere.
They connect and they get 200. They amass, I'm following 200 people.
Yeah, and then they probably can get a couple dozen, a couple hundred followers also.
Yep.
But if you don't have
it matters how you got them.
But if you don't have ties to a big media company like I'm lucky to have, how do you garner a bigger audience? Is it pinging people who have a big following? What other suggestions do you have?
It's being the tortoise instead of the hare. Everybody wants a default into, let me, if I can just get Gary Vee to retweet. Here's an announcement. A retweet for me isn't gonna do anything for you, right? Like it's about relevance. And so the best way to build an audience is through search. Twitter is a cocktail party. The number one way to build an audience is to search words that are in your world and jump into conversations. If I started a Jets blog tomorrow, which is something I'd like to do, a New York Jets one, I would go into Twitter, I would search New York Jets, I would search Mo Wilkerson, he's a player, I would search Rex Ryan, I would search the Patriots, I would search words. I would then see what somebody says, and I would jump into the conversation. I disagree. I think Sheldon Richardson is the best defensive lineman. I think you're crazy. I think that we should start, the Sims kid. What that does is it makes you part of the conversation. If you actually say good things, it's like, how do you become really good at a cocktail party? I don't know, you show up, you go into like a circle, you start talking. If you actually are a listener and you actually add something to the conversation, we become friends.
Sure.
Same exact thing. Instead of just walking in and shouting, or walking in and being like, hey, you look cool here, tell everybody that I'm cool. This is human dynamics.
And you're seeing this is successful for brands.
Absolutely.
Even though they're not individuals.
Correct, because if you bring value, you could almost borderline be a bad human being. If you bring value, people are interested.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. The next question is a really appropriate segue. MJ on Livestream asks, do the Jets have a chance next year?
MJ, the good news is, the answer is absolutely. The way the NFL is built now, it's a year-to-year league. The Jets are cutting an enormous amount of players this year. Mark Sanchez, Antonio Holmes, probably Antonio Cromartie if he doesn't restructure. They're going to have an obnoxious amount of money under the cap. They've got an extra draft pick from the Rebus trade. They're positioned to be a much better team next year. It's going to come down to if Geno progresses or if they go for a different quarterback. The quarterback's such an important part of football. But the answer is I'm optimistic. Next year has been the year I've been targeting for the last 3 years, so I hope so.